Hey, all my Aquarius friends. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today with your June 2024 monthly horoscope. These horoscopes are based on whole sign Western astrology. So when I'm talking about Aquarius, I'm referencing Aquarius rising as dictating the landscape of the chart. This is also applicable to Aquarius Sun, Aquarius Moon, or if you have 3 or more personal planets in the sign of Aquarius, this video is applicable to you as well. When I refer to a day and time, it's based on the Pacific time zone, so please adjust for your location. All right, let's jump right in because the month starts off with some very favorable aspects. We see that Jupiter has entered Gemini, which is your 5th house of personal pleasure, creativity, the conception of children. There's a very youthful energy to Gemini in general. The energies could feel very fast, very inspiring, you could have ideas just popping off right and left, really. And you could honestly, I think, potentially have the wherewithal right now to actually start to implement these ideas into your 3D world. You can see here that Pluto entered Aquarius, your 1st house, and now it's retrograding and will go back into your 12th house and just dip its toe in there for about 6 weeks before, maybe a little longer, before it moves back into your 1st house for the next 20 years, and will make a favorable aspect to your 5th house, as well as your 9th house of Libra. So this is all, to me, very favorable. I'm kind of a numbers gal, so I can't help but notice that the Sun, Venus, and Jupiter all have a 1 within their degree. We've got 5 ones up here, and they're making a trine to Pluto at the 1st degree retrograde. This very much speaks to me of an awareness that my thoughts are things. And as I focus on the things that I want versus the things that I potentially have experienced, when I put my mind with some intention behind it versus just allowing it to be reactionary, I have a lot of power. 11 is the master number of thought. And we also see that we have a sextile over here to Neptune. Neptune is at 29 degrees, which reduces down to an 11. You naturally rule the 11th house of hopes and dreams. So I really feel like this beginning of the month is an awareness about your intentions and then nurturing those intentions beyond what you experience in your physical world. The only challenge might be at the beginning of the month is Mars has been having a conversation with Chiron. Mars is in its most powerful energy in your 3rd house. That's how you think. That's how you speak. There's a bit of fire here, and there could be feelings of being misunderstood, or that for some reason people aren't quite responding to you the way you want them to. I say that because having Mars go over the North Node, there's this ravenous point to be acknowledged for the individual dynamic which you carry. Then Chiron is that chronic wound that just seems not to go away, because until it's transformed into the gift that launches you in the direction of your hopes and dreams, it just becomes an anchor. So Mars is a little sick of this. Mars is like, I want to get over this. I'm done. I'm tired of thinking hot, being hot. I want to be inspired. I want to feel more passion. That's what's going on there. Now, we see that when we go to the 3rd, Mercury enters its domicile in Gemini. And we see that this trine between Jupiter and Pluto is going to continue throughout the month. So there's a favorable influence that is supporting your broadening of your beliefs, the broadening of your experience. Jupiter's in detriment in Gemini, which means it's at its furthest point away from its home, its domicile, its rulership. And yet Jupiter rules foreign travel. So Jupiter has a sense of discovery and adventure here, but the adventure is of the mental process. How do I think? How do I speak? How do I interact with others when it comes to my personal pleasure, my creativity, my sense of expression out into the world. We see that Venus and the Sun are conjunct on this day, and they're starting a square with Saturn. Saturn is going to sit pretty much solid in the sky. It's barely going to move 1.5 degrees throughout the whole month before it retrogrades in Pisces. Pisces is your second house of self-worth, of your money, of your possessions, of your talents and your skills. So there's going to be a revisit in some ways of the foundations that you are creating. And those foundations are, to me, because Saturn is going through the sign of Pisces, this is again where I'm really implementing the divine laws of the universe. And right now, I can't necessarily see how it's going to play out. I feel a little like the sun is shining so brightly that Venus is wondering, will I get my moment? Will I be seen? Will I be seen for my skills, for my talents, for my ideas, for my thoughts? And yet, at the same time, as the square continues and Venus moves just a little further away from the sun, she will start to feel a little bit more of her mojo. This could also be a day where there's family obligations. I don't know why I want to say that for Aquarius, but this could be a time when Gemini by nature rules the neighborhood, the community. Here it's ruling your 5th house, the conception of children. And with it making a square aspect to your 2nd house, there could be a conflict between you wanting to express yourself and somehow being obligated to some sort of family dynamic. I don't know why I want to put it that way, but it's just coming across intuitively that way for me. And while we're still seeing Chiron and Mars having this conversation, the tensions are loosening up, and at the same time, Mars doesn't get to forget about the revelations, because as Mars moves into Taurus, where it will be in its detriment, it's going to have a very tight square between Pluto. And that's 2 very challenging planets digging deep into anger, frustration, resentment, power, and control, and how all those things affect us. And oftentimes the power and control is not active in our everyday life, but it's been an imprint from our childhood. And so this might pop up for you a little bit during this period of time. Now, again, while we see these squares presenting challenges, we also see very favorable aspects. I love the way the South Node is supporting Venus, her ruling planet. The South Node is now in Libra. Libra is ruled by Venus, and it's making this favorable aspect to the Sun as well as Venus. So there is the potential that there could be behavioral patterns or thoughts that come to you that they're easy to move around. They're easier to move around, or you're ready to move around them. I don't like to use the word release because I think humans have a real hard time just forgetting something, but they do have the ability to integrate it into their physical experience and turn it into a tool rather than an anchor. And that's what I think is being supported here. All right, let's go on to the 6th, where we'll have our new moon. I'm sorry. It's happening at 5:37 a.m. That's the new moon in Gemini. And the new moon to me feels really, there's a warmth to it. And I'll tell you, it's Venus that brings that warmth. It's planting the seeds for my own creativity. Again, this is your 5th house, Aquarius, the 5th house of the performer, of the clown, the child, the pleasure in your life. And Gemini loves to have a good time. It's a very social sign. So here, I think you're planting the seeds for, in some ways, your own liberation by using your talents and your skills, by allowing yourself the privilege of not knowing from the outside in, but from the inside out, which means that my being energy is aligned to my intentions versus what I'm experiencing in this moment. There is that square that's been growing between Saturn, as Saturn is again stationing in the sky, almost standing still, demanding to be recognized. What kind of structures are you building? Are you building on fantasy? Are you building on illusion? Are you hoping somebody's going to come in and save you? Because that Saturn says no. The square is the dedication, the nurturing. The 16th degree is the Cancer degree, the nurturing of your dreams. And while Saturn sits at 18 degrees, it's sitting at the Virgonian degree of process, of analyzing something. So this is really not about jettisoning through too quickly. The energies can be very fast in Gemini right now. While Jupiter will spend a year there, this whole cluster of, we've got 5 planets now in the sign of Gemini at the new moon. So there's a strong feeling of mercurial speed here. And Saturn's going to say, speed is fine when you have a strong foundation. But if you've got a rickety foundation, this could be a little bit of a challenge. And the rickety foundation will be represented by the square between Mars and Pluto, bringing up whatever has potentially kept you feeling anchored. Again, this is in your first house of self. Aries is your third house of thought, of how you speak, how you interact with your teammates, your workmates, your neighbors, your community, your siblings. That's another big one. Okay, so now let's go on to the 9th, where we will see Mars move into Taurus. And the energy changes rather significantly because when Mars was in its rulership, there's a lot of fire and passion and inspiration. And on this day, at the midday, we see that Mars is suddenly grounded, is the way I want to put it. Mars is no longer, being able to just roam freely at his own speed. Here, there's a sense of pacing. There's a sense of being aware of the vibration, the emotional vibration that you are walking upon as you endeavor things. At this time, we see the moon at 29 degrees of Cancer is making a focal point of Mars, as is Pluto, and Pluto is opposing the moon. Something comes up emotionally that could potentially trigger you or potentially bring up old story. And at the moment it happens, you may be powerless over asserting a physical action to rectify it, but you do have the ability to contemplate it from your talents and your skills. And is this pertinent or current now, or am I having some kind of reaction that is an imprint that has had power and control over me, that's held me to a smaller version of myself? We also see at this time that Saturn is squaring the sun direct and pretty close to squaring Venus. Well, it is squaring Venus, but it's not exact. This is very, very much about revisiting your talents, your skills, and birthing them out into your communities. And birthing them into the community of your mind, and from your mind, it goes into the community of your physical experience. And this could be a tense time where there's trepidation. Have I done enough? Have I been enough? Am I enough? There can be a lot of back and forth. The twins always look at things from both sides, and sometimes the back and forth contemplation can drive you a little. They call it the monkey mind. So that could come into play a little bit. We have a very powerful energy coming up between the 12th and the 17th. I'm just going to go to the 12th right now. We see now that Mercury has made the exact square to stationing Saturn. So my thoughts are going to be on my history. My thoughts are going to be on where have I been? Who supports me? Do I feel supported? Do I feel brave? This continued square is a tense energy that almost is like a fork in the road. There's a very habitual way of reacting and responding and behaving. And then there's the evolved, more aware version of yourself. And you stand, what will I do? Will I default, or will I intend my way through it? Which is also echoed in the square between Mars and Pluto. So this is one of those times where, as you start to demonstrate to yourself the energies that you want to foster in your life, the more you experience them in your life. And that's the rooting that your second house wants, Saturn wants in your second house. Root in the energy, root in your belief in yourself. Remember how you speak to yourself. there are subtleties in the human language that really, as an intuitive astrologer, really hit me strong. Like people say, oh, I need to do this or I should do that. And it feels so Saturnian. It feels so efforting and so unnatural. But if I swap out the word need or should, or even have to, forget to, it's a completely different vibration. And I think this is something that's going to be coming into Aquarius's awareness, is that words are things and words create a vibration, and that vibration is echoed in our experience. So this could be an awareness, but not a full-blown implementation, which then creates a little bit of tension because it's like, you know how to do it, but why can't I do it effortlessly? Because you're imprinted, and the human is imprinted not only with their own personal story, but with the story that those around us give us. Now we go to the 17th. So from the 12th to the 16th, about the 17th, this square feels like it's pretty much being felt and in play. When I get over here to the 17th, we see that Venus and Mercury are both at 0 degrees of Cancer. So now we're going from this really airy, thoughtful, zippity-doo-dah energy into a denser energy with the water. Meaning the water element going into my emotional body, going into the things that make me feel nurtured and healed and supported and cared for. And the energy's feeling a little new now. And I think the reason it's feeling new is because of the quincunx to Pluto in your first house. So now we go from your 5th house of creation into your house of work, service, and health. And I think the best way to support your health is to follow your dreams. And you may not be able to see the pathway in front of you, but you can feel the pathway. Now, when I look at this day, I also can't help but notice the moon is in Scorpio, making an exact opposition at this time to Mars. These two planets are making a focal point in their square to Pluto retrograde. Scorpio is your 10th house of work and career. Mars is in your 4th house of home and family. And then there's sort of you here in the middle. And this is another one of those focal points. Will you allow for your transformation? Will you believe that as you nurture yourself and your own hopes, desires, and dreams for the kind of career that you want, will others be on board? And I think the answer is yes. I think that you'll end up demonstrating through your experience what happens when you trust your gut versus listening too much to your head. Now, the tension is further evidenced by Mercury and Venus making a square to Neptune, because sometimes the subtlety of spirit, the subtlety of the divine laws of the universe are lost upon the human that wants things very solid and opaque. So here, this is really an interior job, an emotional job, and that's what creates the tension. You know, Aquarius rules genius. It rules science. It rules space. So a lot of the things that are represented in the Aquarian energy can be verified through experimentation. And I think this is an opportunity for you to experiment with your own mind and self-worth. So let's go on now to the first of 2 full moons in Capricorn. That's going to be on the 21st at 6:07 p.m. We experienced, I believe it was 2 full moons in Aries. I keep saying that. I should probably actually check whether they were new moons or full moons. But it threw the moon cycle off back in 2023 in the Aries season, and now we're recalibrating that. And when we look at the sun and the moon in an opposition, where we're in the brightest phase of the moon, we see the focal point is once again Neptune. This square is really calling us to ask, are we escaping? Are we fantasizing? Are we living in an illusion? Oh, if I don't do anything, it'll just get better on its own. Or am I willing to put some spit and polish and some intention and some consistent behaviors that represent my intention, which is also what Saturn is calling forth, is actual structure in your spirituality. So here, this is where, for me, I enjoy, one of my meditations is in my daily shower. When I set my intentions, I allow the water to wash away the things that I find unpleasant and distasteful, and then I put out my intention to seek the wisdom in whatever is at some point potentially challenging me. So I think that's going to be where the illumination lies. There could potentially be a feeling that you are concentrating so much on the challenge that you can't feel the solution. And I can't help but then echo again, Neptune is in a sextile with Pluto, the transformation and the implementation of spiritual divine laws of the universe. What goes up must come down, you know, cause and effect. These are all things that you learn in grammar school, you know, about gravity. That's a divine law. So as you use those divine laws as succinctly as you would use gravity when you toss a ball with somebody, you're going to see yourself and your life experience change dramatically, I think. Okay, now let's go to the last day of the month. Well, not the last, but almost the last day of the month. And I'm going to leave this at 6:07 p.m. because it's later in the afternoon that Saturn actually turns retrograde. Saturn will retrograde until November, and then it'll move forward again. So there's a real revisit of everything that has to do with your skills, your talents, your self-worth, your feelings of security, feelings of flow. And I really think that this is about balance, starting off at the Libra degree and ending at the Piscean degree, 12 degrees, before it moves forward again, is revisiting the concepts of the first 7 houses. And that's, you know, that's the self being birthed into this earthly experience. So I think that's super powerful. I also want to comment that on this day, there could be a bit there could be emotions. You could really feel the shift in Saturn's energy because the moon is going to traverse through your 3rd house of thought, of speech, and it's going to come up on the North Node and Chiron. We see it right here. At this time, they're conjunct. And this is where, again, you may be feeling a little emotional. You may be feeling feelings of, I got to do it on my own. Nobody sees me for who I am. But at the same time, I want to offer this to my Aquarians, that as you nurture that 5th house of Gemini and your own specific talents and skills, when Jupiter moves into Cancer, you have a real opportunity to implement those into your everyday experience through work, through your personal health, and through your service to others. And that service to others will be chasing your own personal hopes and desires and offering others an invitation to do the same. Okay, that's it for me for the month of June 2024. I will be back with your July horoscopes. Please like, please subscribe, please share, and please comment. I look forward to reading your comments. And have a lovely June. I'll see you in July. Bye, my Aquarius friends.